Hello, everyone. First of all, very happy New Year. And it's very nice that in this New Year we are starting with something money thing with us. Some very insightful talks, some very insightful and valuable things and knowledge on, fundraising, some sort of funds for your early stage ventures. So here I want to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Tushar Vadera, who is a lead of Headstart Investor Circle and as well co-founder of SetMyCart. I would like to brief about him a bit more. That we are very thankful to having him as he's a sort of a leading force behind Investor Circle, Headstart Investor Circle, where we engaged highly manner early stage startups to get funded with. Where we have launched such initiatives like Pitch Deck, Pitchathon, Kickstart, and recently we have launched the Bharat Pitchathon to interact the startup community and early stage startups across the India. So here are some more insights about Tushar, that he is a keen expert in a SaaS domain personally, so and D2C startups as well as so he has also worked closely with 40 incubators by supporting them in designing program mentorship and many more things for raising funds for early stage startups. So we would like to have you today, Tushar. Welcome you aboard. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhaktadasi, for the introduction. Thank you so much, Mukesh and AIC Prestige team for, first of all, organizing this kind of session. Glad to be a part of it. I would like to keep it very, very interactive. Feel free to ask if you have any questions in between, or you want me to elaborate on any particular thing, so that it is much valuable to all of us, and we can utilize the time nicely. And I would also keep some time towards the end of it, because kafi, and I'll try to keep the languages mix of Hindi and English. Let me know if that is fine and everyone understands both the language, to keep it more engaging. So I was saying, कई बार होता है ना, thoughts end में निकल के आते हैं, ठीक है? So that is also fine. We can have some interaction towards the end as well. Great. So the topic for us today is fundraising, a very, very, very important topic for early stage startups, right? So just to add on what Bhaktadasi said, so I'm an entrepreneur myself. I've been involved in the startup ecosystem for past so many years. तो एक तो entrepreneur side का भी थोड़ा सा understanding है, and now I'm involved in the other side of it as well. Working with a lot of investor side, running our own angel syndicate called Headstart Investor Circle, and we also invest in early stage startups. So दोनों साइड से देखने का बड़ा यूनिक अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलता है, and there are very different angles and mindsets when you are pitching or when you are listening to a pitch, right? So the most important takeaway जो है आज के सेशन का, वो यही है कि दूसरा साइड समझना. So whatever preparation for us for our fundraising needs to be from the angle of the person whom we are going to pitch, नॉट आर एंगल. तो अगर मैं मान लीजिए कोई सामान बेच रहा हूँ, कोई प्रोडक्ट बेच रहा हूँ, तो मुझे कस्टमर का माइंडसेट समझना पड़ेगा कि उसकी, लाइक द वे वी सॉल्व अ चैलेंज, वी सॉल्व प्रॉब्लम. सो पीपल से दैट यू वुड हैव अटेंडेड अदर सेशन की थोड़ा कस्टमर का एंगल समझो, कस्टमर के पेन एरिया समझो. सिमिलरली इफ यू आर पिचिंग टू अ इन्वेस्टर, try to understand from the other side, and that is what the most important thing in our preparation is. So with that, let us begin the discussion. I have a small deck. So we'll first try to understand the various funding avenues, कि कौन से वो जरिए हैं जिससे हम फंड उठा सकते हैं. Many of them are I have seen that not known to a lot of startups. So first and foremost, angel investors, as we all know. These people are called angel because ये बहुत अर्ली स्टेज पे आते हैं. हम पे सबसे पहला इंसान जो ट्रस्ट करता है हमारे स्टार्टअप के ग्रोथ में, वो है हमारे एंजल इन्वेस्टर्स. that is why we call them angels. These are usually individuals or maybe group of individuals who come together and put a small amount of money in our startup. Then we have seed funds. There has been a lot of seed funds which have come up. There's one more slide on seed fund. I'll cover it there. Then we have grants. Grants are equity free money which are usually given to you. मोस्टली ये जो अवेलेबल होते हैं वो इम्पैक्ट स्टार्टअप्स के लिए होते हैं, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल एग्रीकल्चर स्पेस में, हेल्थ केयर में, एजुकेशन में. सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ ग्रांट्स नाउ व्हिच आर अवेलेबल वाया द गवर्नमेंट और कॉर्पोरेट ग्रांट्स एज वेल, व्हिच यू कैन गेट. देन इज वीसी, दैट इज वेंचर कैपिटलिस्ट. तो ये थोड़े बड़े फंड्स होते हैं जो हमारे कंपनी में पैसे लगाते हैं. Then you have private equity funds, ये और भी बड़े फंड होते हैं जो पैसा लगाते हैं. Then you have crowd funding. कुछ ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म्स होते हैं जहां पे हम बहुत सारे लोगों से छोटा छोटा अमाउंट ले लेते हैं. Something very similar to हमने देखा होगा during this second wave and all, there were a lot of forwarded message which you used to get कि भाई इसके इलाज के लिए पैसे चाहिए, इसके फैमिली के लिए पैसे चाहिए, and they used to, a lot of people used to contribute together and give that money, right? So something of that sort. So crowdfunding का दूसरा angle है कि you take advance booking, right? You take booking, you are launching a product and from the customers itself you take advance booking. So ये थोड़ा real estate में होता है, right? When we book a apartment खरीदने से पहले, बनने से भी पहले आप पैसा ले लेते हो सारे customers से, एंड उसी पैसे का कुछ पार्ट यूज करते हो आप अपना बिल्डिंग बनाने के लिए. सो दिस इज वेरी सिमिलर टू दैट, wherein you take money from the customer. So two ways: one, you can take money from the external people, investor or general public, or you can take money from your customers as well in some way. Then is debt financing. Debt is mostly loan, जिसका अलग वर्ड होता है, जो मोस्टली बैंक से हमें मिलता है. So there are a lot of banking schemes which have come up for the startups and all to provide you debt financing. ये सभी तरीके से फंड रेज करने के चैनल्स, तरीके, टिकट साइज, दैट इज द अमाउंट, ये सब अलग अलग होता है. ठीक है, हमें समझना पड़ता है कि हमें कितना पैसा चाहिए और किस जरिए से चाहिए. अकॉर्डिंगली वी नीड टू मेक आवर प्लान्स और प्रिपरेशन फॉर फंड रेजिंग. ग्रेट. So one thing which I skipped here is seed fund. So there's a very beautiful scheme which has been launched by Startup India, that is Startup India Seed Fund Scheme. Now इसमें होता ये है कि you can apply for seed fund. This is via the government. It is distributed via incubators. So there are so many incubators which have become eligible to give you this funds. So as a startup, you need to get recognized by Startup India, and then you can apply for these kind of funds. यूजुअली स्मॉल अमाउंट होता है, लेस देन 1 CR रुपीज, 20 लाख, 30, 40 लाख, 50 लाख की रेंज में आपको ये अमाउंट मिल सकता है. अलग अलग इंक्यूबेटर के अलग अलग टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस है. यू कैन रेफर देम एंड अकॉर्डिंगली अप्लाई टू 2 to 3 incubators from which you want the funds. So there's a very important channel, या अभी एक बहुत नया तरीका आया है जिससे आप फंड्स उठा सकते हैं. प्रोसेस भी काफी सारे इंक्यूबेटर्स का, इट इज वेरी फास्ट. So this is a good opportunity for us. Great. So now let us try to understand the different steps. Usually हमें as a founder लगता है कि मैंने pitch किया, इन्वेस्टर ने हाँ बोला और चलो नेक्स्ट मंथ में पैसा आ जाएगा. आई हैव सीन मेनी स्टार्टअप्स डूइंग अ लॉट ऑफ प्लानिंग. वंस दे रिसीव अ यस, हायरिंग कर लिया, सब कर लिया, अभी तो पता चला पैसा आने में टाइम लग गया, राइट? सो दीज आर सम स्टेप्स व्हिच यूजुअली टेक प्लेस. सो इन्वेस्टर आइडेंटिफाइज द स्टार्टअप, प्रिलिमिनरी जो भी डिस्कशन होता है, देन अगर कमिटमेंट होता है, देन यू साइन अ टर्म शीट. द टर्म शीट इज अ डॉक्यूमेंट ऑफ मेजर टर्म्स कवरिंग द deal. Okay, then the investor or the VC would do a detailed due diligence. Due diligence means वो आपसे बहुत सारे डॉक्यूमेंट्स मांगेंगे, खुद अपने एंड पे बहुत सारा MCA के पोर्टल पे या ROC में जो भी फाइलिंग्स वगैरह आपकी चेक करेंगे, बैलेंस शीट से लेके so many things. After that, they will decide a final shareholder agreement which will have more detailed terms and clauses. उसके बाद आपका डील क्लोज होगा, and then you will get your money in your bank account. Even after getting the money, there are certain compliances which we have to do, but then I have not covered them in this slide. So these are some major steps. Usually depending on as I mentioned in one of my earlier slides कि बहुत सारे channels होते हैं. So depending on the channel जहाँ से आप fund उठा रहे हो, these may differ. Like for a bank there would be different sort of clauses. For a VC there would be different sort of clauses as well as steps. For an angel investor इतना ज़्यादा detailed नहीं होगा. There's a very new way of investing which has come up that is called safe notes. I can talk about it if you are interested in, towards the end. तो इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा पेपर वर्क नहीं होता है, and that is a very good way of raising funds right now. If the amount is small and you're raising from angel investors. So some of the major preparations which we need to do when we start raising money for our startup, right? So the most important of them I have listed here. There may be a few more, but these are a must, the things which I have mentioned here. So I'll go through them one by one. So the first one is elevator pitch. Then is the pitch deck. I'm sure you would all know about it. Then there are different versions of your pitch. 5 minutes pitch, 2 minutes pitch, because there are so many pitch events which you may be participating, or every investor, there would be a different timeline for which you would be meeting. If it is a half an hour call, it is a 5-minute pitch, or if you're meeting them in a physical light speed dating sort of, which used to happen before COVID event. So for every kind of format, you should be ready with your pitch, and accordingly you should highlight it. You should practice n number of times with your co-founder, with your team, so that you come up very perfectly. Then you need to prepare your financial plan, fund utilization plan. Let us say you have raised money for 12 months. What are you going to do with that money in the next 12 months, right? What are the milestones which you are going to achieve? What are your financial projection? What is your revenue projection? What is your business model? How would you be growing your startup? What is your go-to-market strategy? Usually we have one slide of everything in the pitch deck, but I'm talking about a detailed version. So if you have mentioned in your pitch deck ki mera, financial projection is like 20 CR, then 50 CR, then 100 CR in the next 1 year or 3 years, you should have a very detailed quarter-wise or whatever numbers based on which you have made this projection. ऐसा सिर्फ rough में deck के लिए बना दिया चलेगा नहीं, because after the call they'll ask you to send the details, maybe a Excel or something. And if you do not have it ready, it will create a bad impression कि बॉस ये तो पिच में तो बड़ा अच्छा बोला, अब ये प्लान ही नहीं भेजा, या फिर आप बाद में प्लान बनाते बैठे और फिगर्स ही मैच नहीं हो रहे. So you should be very bottom up approach लेते हुए, you should have all this ready and then only put the numbers in your deck. You should have a very proper calculation around it. And one of the most important thing is growth metrics. I think there's a spelling mistake here. So key growth आपकी जो metrics है, that should be you should know your numbers very well. If the investor asks you what is the last month revenue, you should be ready with the number. What are your other metrics? Let us say number of user, what is your app utilization, or what is your user base, what is your month-on-month growth rate, what is your burn rate. All these numbers which are very important to understand your growth metrics. If it is a SaaS, as most of you come from a SaaS background, so it should be what is your ARR, MRR, what is your subscription rate, churn rate, ये rate, वो rate, बहुत सारे rates आते हैं उसमें. Definitely you can Google out for more relevant metrics, because every startup would be having a different metrics to follow. But whatever it is, you should have a very clear, perfect number, perfect growth projection for your this thing. Then is the competitor analysis. We'll cover it again in one of the next slides. So coming to the elevator pitch, right? We call it as an elevator pitch because many a times we interact with an investor for a very short duration, maybe 1 minute or maybe even less. सिर्फ एक introduction है, hello hi बोलना है और वहाँ पे pitch करना है. So ये एक मतलब एक कहा जाता है कि if you get into a lift with an investor and before he gets out of the lift on the next floor, typically 30-40 सेकंड लगेगा, उसके अंदर आपको अपनी पिच खत्म करनी. दैट इज व्हाई दे टर्म्ड इट एज एलिवेटर पिच, राइट? सो एकदम क्रिस्प, टू द पॉइंट, सारा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज उसमें कवर होना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं कि हमें अपना स्टार्टअप बताने में ही 4-5-6 मिनट लग गए और उसको इंटरेस्ट नहीं आया. सो दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट वर्जन ऑफ योर पिच, दैट इज एलिवेटर पिच. So now coming to a few tips for fundraising, I'm sure that you would know the major part of it in terms of what should your pitch deck have, like your problem, your solution, market size and all that. So I've not covered that. I have tried to cover those points which are usually not directly linked to the deck, but is linked to our preparation as a whole. Okay. But still, if you would have any specific questions, feel free to interrupt me, and I would be able to answer that. So the most important thing for us is a hook. Okay, now what is a hook? Be it a pitch deck which we are giving, or be it a without deck, maybe a face-to-face discussion which we are having, there should be a hook which attracts the other person's attention to our business or to our deck or to whatever we are saying. Now, whatever points which I'm mentioning is relevant for any sort of pitch which you are making. It can be a customer pitch, it can be a investor pitch, a bank जिससे आप मिल रहे हो, जो भी आपके stakeholder है, right? Maybe a mentor or someone. एक या तो story line हो या आपकी tagline हो. But we need to understand, let us say if we are pitching in a pitch competition, right? 10 स्टार्टअप हैं, हम उसमें 4th नंबर पे हैं, तो हमारे पहले भी 3 स्टार्टअप पिच कर चुके हैं और हमारे बाद भी बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप पिच करेंगे. As a investor, if I am attending a session, I may get distracted, because it may be an online format. कहीं कॉल आ गया, किसी को कुछ हो गया. There are so many investors, everyone may have a different mindset. कोई अपने लैपटॉप में काम ही करने लग गया. How do you hook them back? Bring their attention back to my story. बॉस, आपने इतनी मेहनत करके पिच बनाई है, लोगों को अट्रैक्ट तो करेगी भाई, सुन लो 5 मिनट हमारी पिच, राइट? सो अ वेरी स्टिकी या ऐसा कुछ स्टोरी, ऐसा कुछ क्वेश्चन बड़ा पर्सनलाइज सा कि आप में से कितने लोग ऐसे हैं या समथिंग, राइट, जो कि उनको हुक करे हमारी बात से. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, और एल्स हमारा नेक्स्ट 5 मिनट जो हम पिच करेंगे उसका कोई सेंस नहीं रह जाएगा. The next important thing which we need to take care of is this particular question, that is, where is the money? Where is the money from that person's point of view? As I said initially itself, when you are pitching to any investor, the biggest question, can anyone answer this, कि उनके मन में सबसे main question क्या चल रहा होगा आपकी सारी deck सुनने या सारी pitch सुनने के बीच में? What would the thing जो investor के mind में चल रहा होगा? Can anyone answer this?
How am I going to make money and how much it would be?
Okay. और कोई try करना चाहेगा?
How you will pay back the money of the investors? How much return you will give to them?
Okay. Very close. और कुछ? Someone else wants to try?
How the whole action would take place.
Okay.
Do I feel good about it?
Feel good is okay.
Scalability, how much bigger it can be.
Okay. ठीक है, तो ये सारी बातें जो आप लोगों ने बताई, this is pointing in a similar direction. Obviously every investor has a different perception, but then one of you said कि how would I make money out of it, या how would I get my money back? इसके पीछे का रीजन, मुझे मनी कैसे मिलेगा, उसके पीछे का रीजन ये है कि क्या आप ये मनी वापस दे पाओगे. तो मैं एज ए इन्वेस्टर अगर आपको इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए पैसा दे रहा हूं और मेरे मन में ये क्वेश्चन है कि मुझे मेरा पैसा कैसे वापस मिलेगा, तो उसका जवाब है क्या आप लग रहे हो उस लायक कि आप वो पैसा मुझे वापस दे पाओगे. नाउ आप इज नॉट जस्ट यू एज अ पर्सन, but the model which you are presenting, the problem which you are talking about, everything, right? But all in all, क्या ये स्टार्टअप मुझे मेरा पैसा वापस निकाल के दे पाएगा या नहीं, right? That is the main question which is there in the investor's mind. Now in every slide they would want to relate indirectly, अपना जो tendency होता है, you would want to relate with that question, कि अच्छा ये मार्केट साइज है, ठीक है, मतलब ओके बड़ा मार्केट है, ठीक है, मिल सकता है पैसा फिर तो. ओके, ये टीम है, अच्छा बहुत शानदार एक्सपीरियंस, वाओ, they are a agri startup and they already have like 10 years of agri experience, बढ़िया, good है. So every slide they would think it from that angle, okay, whether this particular startup can give my money back or not, as one of you said. So for us, very important figures to be mentioned is around money. Whatever we are mentioning should all make a story, not story, but should be correlated in a way so that it is easy for them to take a decision on this, yes or no. Market size mention क्यों करते हैं? ताकि पता चले कि बड़ा market है कि छोटा market है, right? Similarly, what is the business model is also a very, very important thing which we should mention, which we should discuss, which usually we don't in a pitch. हम प्रोजेक्शन तो मेंशन कर देते हैं, लेकिन हम पैसा कैसे निकालेंगे वो नहीं मेंशन करते हैं. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल सब्सक्रिप्शन. स्पेसिफिकली सास जो बिजनेस मॉडल होता है, इसमें बहुत डिफरेंट टाइप से हम रेवेन्यू अर्न कर सकते हैं, राइट? कोई किसी तरीके से रेवेन्यू निकालता है, कोई कस्टमर साइड से निकालता है, कोई कमीशन में निकालता है, कोई सब्सक्रिप्शन में निकालता है. सो मेनी मॉडल्स, राइट? नाउ जस्ट बाय चेंजिंग द रेवेन्यू मॉडल आपका पूरा फिगर ही चेंज हो सकता है, ठीक है? So the model is also very, very important to be explained, not in very detail, but in a way to give them a hint कि boss, okay, इस तरीके से revenue निकालना सही चीज है. Maybe we can discuss about this in detail in towards the end. So third most important thing is details about the team. Again, coming to the same thing, ki whether I can give my money back, whether I can give them the money back. I have seen 30 to 40% or maybe even more decision is based on the team driving the startup. Like, who are the founders? What are their qualification? What is their experience? What is the relevant experience? As I said, if you are a SaaS startup, have you worked in a SaaS company? Have you built a SaaS product in the past? And things like that. That is very, very important. Now, what I have seen in so many decks is 3 founder है, 3 photos है और नीचे नाम लिखा हुआ है. बॉस, फोटो भले छोटी हो जाए, इंपॉर्टेंट है कि स्किल सेट्स मेंशन करें, रिलेवेंट एक्सपीरियंस मेंशन करें. वो एकदम छोटी सी लाइन एक छोटी सी लिखी रहती है. नहीं, नीड टू प्रॉपरली मेंशन आवर क्वालिफिकेशन, आवर स्किल सेट. दे डोंट नो अबाउट अस, राइट? दे डोंट नो डिटेल्स. मे बी पुट अप योर लिंक्डइन प्रोफाइल, यू नो, एज अ क्लिक. वहां पे क्लिक किए तो द लिंक्डइन प्रोफाइल ओपन्स अप so that they can have a detailed this thing. So very important to mention the strength areas of the team. Because that is a very important decision for them to be taken. Even in many of the pitches I have seen that founder may they just tell the name, or maybe just like, I have 10 years of experience, this me, this. No, you'll have to tell what you have done in 10 years, which is going to be useful for you in building your startup. Another important thing is competitor analysis. So many of the startup, they claim that we don't have any competition, right? We are the only one in this space. No one has ever done it, right? तो ऐसा usually ऐसा नहीं होता है. There might be some existing way, even if there is no competitor directly, but some existing method by which people your customers are actually doing the same thing. It is good to have a competitor. Many startup they fear कि मैं अगर competitor की details mention कर दूंगा तो problem होगी and all that. No, it is always good to have a competition. Why? Because this is a proof that there is a big market which exists, and the competitors are also getting funded. There are unicorns in that space. Good, the space is becoming hot. अच्छी बात है, ठीक है? What you need to be careful is to have a clear-cut understanding on how are you different from your competitor, or maybe if you are or maybe if it is a new space जहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा competitor नहीं है, ठीक है? तो आप अपना moat कैसे बना रहे हैं? Moat as in defensibility, like so that no one else can enter that space or no one else can do the way you are doing it. What is it that you are trying to do for this? So very, very important to have focus on your competitor. You should keep a very close watch on how your competitors are doing their GTM, how they are growing, what are their numbers, how are they reaching out to the customers, what new features are they coming up with. All these things you should be very, very clear and regularly इसका आपको track रखना है. So what are you up to, right? So I think a few things we have already discussed, but then it should be very clear in our mindset कि आने वाले 3 महीने में 6 महीने में what are my plans, like point wise bullet points आपके पास clear रहने चाहिए. ये 3 चीज करूंगा अगले 6 महीने में, फिर ये 2 चीज करूंगा, ये चीज में मेरे को challenge आ रहा है, नहीं आ रहा है. Many of the startups, when you ask them a question, what are your challenges? I'm not sure. I don't have any major challenges right now. It is not possible that you don't have any challenge. Like resource is always a challenge for tech SaaS startups, right? So whatever it is, customer education can be a challenge if it is a new space. So what are your challenges are, you should know it, right? If you are not knowing your challenges, तो फिर आगे कैसे बढ़ेंगे? Right. So very important thing that we should know whom we are pitching to. Like for example, if we are pitching to an investor, we should know which kind of startups they invest in, what are the portfolio startups in which they have invested in the past, what is their ticket size, how much equity usually they take, whether they are the right stage investor for you. Like for example, we are early stage startup raising our first check and we are pitching to a series B, series C level investor. It will be a waste of time for you as well as for them because वो fit ही नहीं है, ठीक है? The person whom you are going to pitch to, check out their LinkedIn profile, understand their qualification. आपको पता चलेगा कि आप एक SaaS startup हो और आप pitch कर रहे हो किसी इन्वेस्टमेंट एनालिस्ट को जिसका बैकग्राउंड है CA, ठीक है? तो आपको थोड़ा टेक्निकल चीजें अलग रख के समझानी पड़ेगी, अलग तरीके से समझानी पड़ेगी. बट इफ यू आर पिचिंग टू समवन हु इज लाइक अ IIT का MTech in the same, like you are pitching to a some investor who has done his MTech and something and he has been a serial entrepreneur in the same segment, ठीक है? तो बॉस वो कॉम्पिटिटर और ये सब आपका बिजनेस मॉडल को बहुत डिटेल में पूछेगा, तो अकॉर्डिंगली आपको अपनी स्लाइड्स रीअरेंज करके रेडी रखना चाहिए, right? So it is very important to know whom you are going to pitch to, what is the kind of expectation they usually have. If they have a portfolio startup similar to your space, they would definitely compare you with them and they would say कि आप इनसे कैसे अलग हो. अब पता चला आप तो जानते ही नहीं हो उसके बारे में क्योंकि आपने competitor analysis ठीक से नहीं किया था. So you should know their portfolio. If there's a similar startup in their space, they would definitely for sure ask this कि how are you different or how are you like better than this. So you should come up with that analysis. They would love it कि boss बंदा prepared है. That is what they want to know, that are you prepared to run the startup and give my money back or not. So you should be thoroughly prepared before you are pitching so that it gives them a good impression about you. That is how you create your impression. Suppose I am asking what is your last quarterly revenue और आप ऐसा सोच रहे हो somewhere around 4 lakhs 5 lakhs, not confident, right? You should have like 4.2 lakhs was my INR was my revenue last quarter. This quarter my target is 7 lakhs. So इतना specific numbers हमें ready रखने चाहिए अपने. A few more tips from the other side of it. So it is the pitch. I said this in the first slide as well. The pitch is not about us, not about our product, not about what we have done. The pitch is about what the other person thinks and what are their expectations out of this particular pitch. Because ultimately है तो एक तरीके का सेल्स ही जहां पे आपको सामने वाले को इम्प्रेस करना है अपने आइडिया के लिए. कस्टमर से आप बोलते हो कि परचेस कर लो मेरा प्रोडक्ट, इन्वेस्टर से आपको बोलना है कि इन्वेस्ट कर दो मेरे स्टार्टअप में. यही अंतर है, बट कन्विंस तो उतना ही लेवल का करना है. तो आपको उनका माइंडसेट समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, उनकी ड्राइव, वो किस तरीके की चीज समझते हैं वो इंपॉर्टेंट है. और वहां फिट ही नहीं है तो फिर आपका जितना भी अच्छा बिजनेस हो या जितना भी अच्छा स्टार्टअप हो वो है ही नहीं. अगर इन्वेस्टर हेल्थ केयर स्पेस का है और आप उसको एक एडटेक स्टार्टअप पिच कर रहे हो तो कोई सेंस ही नहीं बनेगा, ठीक है? I think the last tip in my slide is around the ask, which is a big confusion for many early stage startups. कितना fundraise करना चाहिए, कितना valuation पे करना चाहिए, कितना equity dilute करना चाहिए, right? So we should be very, very clear with our ask, even for non-funding related, like what apart from funding are we expecting from the investor? Are you looking for any strategic partnership? Are you looking for any mentorship? Are you looking for any specific connects in a particular space? जो भी चीज है, you should be very clear, and you should be clear whether this investor brings that thing or not, and accordingly you can ask them for that particular thing. So second is key, always end the session with a follow-on. Like towards the end you say that okay, you wanted this thing, make a note of it, and you say that after the call I'll send you the financial projection you are looking for it, I'll send you the demo, or maybe schedule a follow-on call for a product demo. Like for example, if they asked in between key product or details mujhe janna hai, so towards the end, so that you have an action point to schedule the next call. And in the next call, let us say 1 week 2 week बाद जब भी आपका next call हो रहा है, bring updates. आप अगर कॉल चालू करें नेक्स्ट टाइम, they already know the past, right? They have already known the introduction, what it is and everything. Now what what new you have done in the last 1 week or last whatever number of days, you should give an update about it, so that they know कि boss, अच्छा ये तो बड़ा अच्छा ग्रो कर रहा है, इन्होंने 1 week में ही ये नया कुछ कर लिया है, some new milestone which you have achieved. So you should be very obviously very fast. As a startup we should definitely be very fast, but we should also be able to demonstrate it to the people. करते बहुत बार हैं हम, लेकिन हम demonstrate नहीं कर पाते हैं, बता नहीं पाते हैं, express नहीं कर पाते हैं. हमें लगता है कि अभी पता नहीं क्या relevant है या नहीं है. It is very important for them to know what is the current updates which you have about your startup. So I think, yeah, okay, there is one more thing. I think I've already discussed some bit of it. That is the valuation part of it, wherein especially in SaaS space, I am assuming that most of us are SaaS startups. So a lot of things are considered while deciding the valuation. And as a startup, we get lost in claiming 1 million valuation, 2 million valuation, right? Rather than that, we should focus on what we have done till now. If you already have a patent, yes, no. If you already have certain revenue numbers, certain traction, if you already have some moat, like for example, some n number of years of experience in that particular space, whatever it is, based on that, what is it जो मेरा ask है? So if my ask is like 1 CR or 50 lakhs or 20 lakhs, whatever it is, हमें उस पे focus करना है rather than focusing on the valuation. So these three numbers, your ask, that is the amount which you want to raise, the equity which you are going to dilute, and the valuation are interrelated. इसमें से दो चीज आपने decide कर ली, third चीज automatically कैलकुलेट हो जाएगी. लोग वैल्यूएशन के पीछे बैठे रह जाते हैं और आस्क और ये नंबर्स मैच नहीं हो पाते हैं, और वो सामने वाले को, इन्वेस्टर को एक्साइटिंग नहीं लगती है डील, कॉस्टली लगती है कि भाई इतनी महंगी डील. लाइक हम जैसे मार्केट में सब्जी लेने जाते हैं, कुछ सामान लेने जाते हैं, अरे ये तो बहुत महंगा है, बहुत अच्छा था बट क्योंकि बहुत महंगा था इसलिए मैंने नहीं खरीदा, राइट? सो इट वैल्यूएशन से अच्छा है कि हम अपने आस्क नंबर्स और अपना इक्विटी जो हम डाइल्यूट कर सकते हैं उस पे हमें ध्यान देना चाहिए, which will be a easy way for us to understand what is the valuation for my startup. वैसे कोई set formula या ऐसा नहीं है for early stage. Every investor has a different thesis based on which they assume or analyze your valuation. We also need to whenever we pitch, whenever we want to raise funds, many times it happens कि ठीक है इन्वेस्टर है, पैसा दे रहा है, ले लो. There are many investors who would ask for a 20%, 30%, right, 40% stake. For a startup, not right to dilute so much of equity at such an early stage. So who is the investor? What is it that they are asking for in return to the money? What is it that they are giving us apart from the money is also very important for us to understand, right? And if there is some strategic investor, then ठीक है थोड़ा equity extra दे दिया. But then if there is only a investor who is claiming a lot of equity but not giving much in return, then we should understand what they have done for the other startups in the past. मतलब क्या उन्होंने भी क्या अचीव किया है, क्योंकि दोनों साइड से मैच होना चाहिए. If it is a startup raising funds but the investor is not matching with the startup, आपको grow करने में दिक्कत होगा, because you are making them equity partner in your companies. They would be shareholders of your companies, right? So thought process, vision for your company, how you want to grow, are their thoughts matching with your thoughts or not, is also very important to understand. And the last tip which I'll give you is about your fundraise. So we should try to raise fast and grow fast rather than waiting for n number of months कि मुझे इन्वेस्टर मिले, इतना अमाउंट चाहिए, अमाउंट जमा करते करते 6 महीना निकाल दिया, ग्रो नहीं कर पाएंगे. So like raise fast and grow fast is my mantra. So that's it from my end. Happy to take up questions or anything which you would want to discuss apart from the things which I presented on the deck. You can unmute yourself and shoot your questions if at all you have any. Good opportunity to discuss about fundraise, which is very confusing usually.
So in your deck, you have talked about crowdfunding. Can you throw some light on that in Indian context?
There are many crowdfunding platforms which have come up. So, you can register on them and, run a crowdfunding campaign like, certain startups, usually in product space, product as in manufacturing wala product. वो लोग क्या करते हैं, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आप मोबाइल फोन का कुछ लॉन्च कर रहे हो, राइट, कुछ गेमिंग का कुछ लॉन्च कर रहे हो, सो you can do a advance booking sort of thing. So that is one way of crowdfunding which I just mentioned. And then for any good idea, like for example you are launching a music video or something of that sort, there are many such platforms which have come up, Indian as well as outside India, on which you can register and start a crowdfunding campaign. So it is about raising money, small amount, मतलब था कुछ हजार रुपए, कुछ 30-40,000 rupees, ऐसा small ticket size, small amounts. In fact, there are many startups who have launched a platform wherein you can get investor funds of very small amount like 5,000, 10,000 rupees. So ऐसे investing platform भी हो गए, ऐसे crowdfunding platform भी हो गए.
I have a question that, hi, this is Niti.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, let's say we already have a company and a reasonable established product, and we want to launch a new product. Okay. And we want to raise money for that specific product. Okay. Is it possible that we do in the same company where company is already 5, 6, 7 years old, or we should create a separate company and then only people will invest in? Do you have some, information on that?
Very specific question, Niti. I'll have to know a lot of other things as well, like what is the product, what is the revenue. बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. I may not be able to. Maybe we can get on a call sometime later. You can connect and I can know more about it, and then I can give you an idea. But usually from an investor's point of view, generally अगर 7 साल 8 साल पुरानी कंपनी है तो वो एज अ स्टार्टअप रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं होती. इवन गवर्नमेंट का रूल है जहाँ पे 6 or 7 years दे हैव अ लिमिट, राइट, रिकॉग्नाइजिंग एज अ स्टार्टअप. बट ट्रेडिशनल वेज हैं इन्वेस्ट करने के, लाइक जो पुरानी कंपनीज होती हैं वो भी मार्केट से पैसा उठाती हैं, राइट, नॉट एज अ स्टार्टअप, बट देयर आर डिफरेंट चैनल्स ऑफ रेजिंग फंड्स फॉर अ ट्रेडिशनल कंपनी लाइक ओल्ड कंपनीज. सो शायद आपको वो तरीका काम आ जाए, या फिर आप एज अ स्टार्टअप, दोनों रास्ते तो दोनों है, बट देन आपको कौन सा चूज करना है, दैट आई विल हैव टू नो मोर बिफोर.
Okay, let me say in that sense, let's assume, an assumption is that we create a separate company and that's a new product which is not launched yet. So for a company which is at an idea stage, or the product is already in a stage where we have just developed it, not gone into the market, what are the key things that angel or a seed fund would look at in that kind of a product?
So when you say product, are you talking about a
SaaS product?
Right. So बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो इस स्टेज पे भी उठा सकते हैं पैसा. टोटली डिपेंड्स ऑन द टीम, राइट. कई सारे, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल नॉन सास स्पेस में भी आप देखोगे तो ये जो ईवी व्हीकल्स और ये जो हार्डवेयर स्टार्टअप्स होते हैं, राइट, जैसे कोई बड़ा सा ड्रोन का स्टार्टअप एंड ऑल दैट, राइट, सो दे टेक like at least 1 or 2 years to develop it, right, not just launch. वो बनाने में ही 2 साल लग जाते हैं, पेटेंट कराने में 2 साल लग जाते हैं. So they raise some money even before that, which is majorly dependent on the model, obviously, which you are trying to use, the space, market, and the team. So if the team is efficient, you should be able to raise it. But कुछ तो traction होगा. Traction may not be in terms of customer or revenue, but like something which you would have done in that space, like in terms of some prototype or some customer or some advance booking or something.
Okay. Understood.
Hi, Tushar.
Thanks.
Hey, Tushar, this is Amiya here. Quick question for you. Can you talk about SAFE, please?
Talk about?
SAFE. You mentioned at the beginning.
Right. So SAFE, full form of SAFE is Simple Agreement for Future Equity. Okay, so safe notes बोलते हैं. इसमें 2-3 अलग-अलग फॉर्मेट्स हैं. So one is CCPS, CCD, compulsory convertible debentures, compulsory convertible preference shares. होता ये है, इन अ नटशेल इसको ऐसे बोलना चाहिए कि आप पैसा ले रहे हो एक एग्रीमेंट करके कि मैं नेक्स्ट राउंड में आपको इक्विटी दूंगा. So it is something in which you have very less paperwork. you can take the money quickly. There is less compliance, ज़्यादा filing और ये सब नहीं होती है. और basically next round जब आप fund raise करोगे, उस वैल्यूएशन के बेंचमार्किंग, उस वैल्यूएशन को बेंचमार्क करते हुए आप इनको इक्विटी दोगे. वो दो तरीके से होती हैं. वैसे तो सेफ नोट्स पे एक सेशन ही अलग हो सकता है, बट जस्ट 1-2 मिनट में मैं ओवरव्यू देने का ट्राई करता हूँ. सो उसमें दो तरीके होते हैं कि पहला है कि आप डिस्काउंट दे सकते हो ऑन द नेक्स्ट राउंड वैल्यूएशन, या फिर आप एक वैल्यूएशन कैप लगा सकते हो नेक्स्ट राउंड के लिए. फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू से कि मेरा नेक्स्ट राउंड 10 करोड़ का होगा, वैल्यूएशन का होगा, तो इस राउंड पे मैं आपको जब भी होगा तब मैं आपको 30% डिस्काउंट पे इक्विटी दूंगा. मतलब उससे 30% डिस्काउंट वैल्यूएशन पे मैं आपको ये करूंगा. सो दिस इज वन वे. एंड द अदर वे इज हैविंग अ कैप की मैक्सिमम 5 CR के वैल्यूएशन पे मैं आपको इक्विटी दूंगा, व्हाटएवर द कैलकुलेशन इज बेस्ड ऑन द मनी व्हिच दे आर गिविंग. बट इन अ नटशेल ब्रॉडली, ज्यादा टेक्निकल में ना जाते हुए, सेफ नोट्स इज समथिंग जहां पे लेस पेपर वर्क होता है और जल्दी प्रोसेस हो जाता है डील. एक ही एग्रीमेंट होता है जो हमें साइन करना होता है, बहुत ज्यादा फाइलिंग नहीं होती.
Got it. So second question is, how much of a runway should one plan for before raising the fund?
So many factors which needs to be considered. So many business models. आप मतलब प्रोडक्ट डेवलपमेंट में है, सॉफ्टवेयर में है, सब चीज है. बट जेनरिक आंसर टू इट वुड बी व्हाट इज द माइलस्टोन व्हिच वी आर गोइंग, व्हाट इज इट दैट वी आर रेजिंग फॉर. लेट अस से आप एक अर्ली स्टेज स्टार्टअप है और आपका थोड़ा थोड़ा रेवेन्यू आ रहा है, प्रोडक्ट बन चुका है, लेकिन आपको लगता है कि भाई प्रोडक्ट इतना स्टेबल नहीं है अभी कि मैं अगर आज 10 यूजर के साथ हूं और मुझे अगर 10,000 यूजर पे जाना है अगले कुछ महीनों के अंदर, तो मेरा टेक ही उतना स्टेबल नहीं है. सो नाउ करेंटली यू आर हायरिंग फॉर योर टेक टीम, फॉर स्ट्रेंथनिंग योर टेक, so that you stabilize it, and maybe next time you would be hiring to market it, scale it further. तो यहाँ पे आपको ज्यादा पैसा लगेगा नहीं. आप 4-6 महीने के हिसाब से आप प्लान करोगे, छोटा सा किसी 1-2 एंजल इन्वेस्टर को पकड़ोगे, फंड रेज करोगे, किसी नई अच्छी टीम बनाओगे और टेक डेवलप करोगे, एंड देन यू विल डू अ लार्जर राउंड. सो दिस इज वन वे wherein you understand what is the milestone which you want to achieve. Now suppose you are a startup wherein you have a tech already in place. सब सही है, अच्छा, क्योंकि आप खुद ही एक टेक को फाउंडर हो और यू हैव बिल्ट अ वेरी गुड टेक. Now you just want to scale it fast. So maybe the budget of your ads and your team and everything, and maybe you are an e-commerce in a e-commerce space जहाँ पे आपको इन्वेंट्री बनानी है या बहुत सारी मार्केटिंग करनी है, एड्स चलाने हैं, तो आपको ज्यादा पैसा लगेगा एंड थोड़ा सा हो सकता है ज्यादा ड्यूरेशन के लिए लगेगा. So if it is like a 12 months this thing, so it may be that way. So totally based on the milestone which we want to achieve. Ultimate objective for us as an entrepreneur is to not dilute too much at very early stage, or else it will become difficult. तो देखो ये तीनों पैरामीटर इंटरलिंक्ड है ना. तो अगर हम ज्यादा टाइम के लिए पैसा उठाएंगे तो ऑब्वियसली हमें ज्यादा पैसा उठाना है, ज्यादा पैसा उठाएंगे तो ज्यादा इक्विटी डाइल्यूट करना है. ठीक है, तो बहुत ज्यादा भी नहीं उठाना है और बहुत कम भी नहीं उठाना है. That is what we need to understand.
Got it. So इसमें like the biggest question that I have at this point of time is कि ज़्यादा की definition क्या है? Because at this point, let's say if you're raising a 500K round, and this is purely from a product and tech perspective to make sure that your product is stable and you can get a decent product out in the market. So from that perspective, let's say what would be this ज़्यादा exactly?
Right. बहुत शानदार क्वेश्चन है. See, now every startup is at a different stage. Every startup has a different model. देखो, आपको अलग भूख लगती होगी, मुझे अलग भूख लगती होगी, एक छोटे बच्चे को अलग लगती होगी, एक ओल्ड एज पर्सन को अलग लगती है, राइट? सो दिस ज्यादा एंड कम इज ऑलवेज इन रिस्पेक्ट टू योर पर्टिकुलर स्टार्टअप. आप और मैं दो स्टार्टअप हैं, मैं जितना रेस कर रहा हूँ जरूरी नहीं है आप उतना रेस करोगे, क्योंकि आपकी डाइट रिक्वायरमेंट अलग है, मेरी अलग है, राइट? So this zyada and come is very very specific to you. I cannot say 500K is zyada or come for you unless I know your your current status, your milestones, your plans. That is very specific, which mostly the founders in themselves, in accordance with some mentor or some expert who can guide you, you can decide on that. Yeah, that is what I would say. Not
Okay.
sure whether I answered you, but there is no clear, one line answer ki 500 k zyada hai ya kam hai. For one startup, it will be come. For one startup, it will be zyada.
What I was mainly aiming for was like, what sort of equity should one be actually looking to give out for this?
Right. So this is what I can try to answer is, I can give you a range, no specific percentage, but yes. So if you're raising like an angel sort of from some angel fund or this kind of small round, minimum which someone would expect is somewhere around 5 to 8%, and maximum which you should dilute is 15-16% at a very early stage. If you are diluting, let's say at 25%, then वो ज़्यादा है. 25-30% वो ज़्यादा है. इसमें एक change ये आ जाता है कि if someone who is coming as an investor is a strategic investor. Strategic investor means, let us say that you are having a sports tech startup. कोई sports tech startup है, analytics का कुछ तो भी आप develop कर रहे हो. Let us say you have a cricketer joining you, like an international cricketer joining as an investor. Definitely he is bringing a lot of things other than money. He is bringing his brand name. Again, that should be there as a part of the agreement, whether you can use the brand name or not. They can open doors for you in terms of your go to market, in terms of your channel partnerships and all that. तो वहां पे वो आपको मार्केटिंग में भी सपोर्ट मिल रहा है और आपको फंडिंग में भी सपोर्ट मिल रहा है, ब्रांड नेम भी जुड़ रहा है, पीआर में भी हो रहा है, देन थोड़ा सा ये परसेंटेज बढ़ सकता है उनके लिए. बट देन इक्विटी जो है वो यूजुअली इसी रेशियो में होती है जो आप डाइल्यूट करते हो.
Understood. And in subsequential rounds, let's say after once you're done with this.
Coming back to your the earlier question. Now, if you are diluting, let us say if you are saying मुझे 500 के चाहिए, okay, and you say कि मुझे 10% से ज़्यादा dilute नहीं करना है, ठीक है? That means you are claiming a 5 million sort of valuation, right?
Yeah.
5 million वैल्यूएशन का मेरा स्टार्टअप है क्या? मतलब मेरे पास तो अभी यूजर भी नहीं है, मेरे पास कुछ भी नहीं है, तो 5 million बहुत महंगा है. दैट मीन्स या तो आपको इक्विटी ज्यादा डाइल्यूट करनी है. सो लेट अस से अगर सामने वाला बोलता है कि 1 million वैल्यूएशन है, तो फिर तो आप 50% इक्विटी डाइल्यूट कर रहे हो, विच इज रॉन्ग फॉर अस टू डाइल्यूट एट दिस स्टेज. दैट मीन्स आप 500 के नहीं रेस कर सकते हो. दैट इज ज्यादा फॉर यू. आपको नीचे उतरना पड़ेगा और कम टाइम के लिए कम अमाउंट रेज करना है ताकि आप 4-6 महीने 8 महीने में फटाक से ट्रैक्शन शो करो. एंड देन नाउ योर वैल्यूएशन इज मोर, सो यू विल बी एबल टू डाइल्यूट लेस एंड रेज मोर. These three are totally interdependent figure. एक चीज को पकड़ के चले तो दूसरे दो के थोड़े क्लियर रास्ते मिल जाते हैं.
Understood. And have you seen use cases where, let's say, I have 3 milestones that I've already set up, and I already know like what sort of runway I will need for each of those milestones, and accordingly, let's say I've approached a particular investor and said that, okay, overall I need to raise this kind of amount, which is according to my 3rd milestone, but it can be released in tranches where, let's say, tranche 1 is for 1st milestone, tranche 2 is 2nd milestone, tranche 3 is 3rd milestone, and for the overall amount we'll be releasing this kind of equity. So does that kind of model work?
That kind of model works. Many of the investors, they do this kind of model, but think it from a startup's point of view. एक थोड़ा different इस चीज को perspective लेते हैं. How much is it favorable for us to receive the money in tranches? हमें लगता है कि हम तो सिक्योर हो गए कि हमने बहुत सारे ड्यूरेशन का ट्रांच वाइज माइलस्टोन ले लिया, बट फॉर फाउंडर द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज इक्विटी. You diluted more equity at this stage, which you could have diluted less if you would have received it in 2 parts, maybe from the same investor or maybe from a different investor. I hope I answered your question, but if you want me to give an example, I can give that.
No, I think I get it, but I guess where I was coming from was that it's on the 3rd milestone and the vision of the overall product that I am raising on from an equity perspective rather than the 1st milestone and what we have right now. So
I understood that thing, and I totally agree with it. Maybe I'll give you an example.
Sure.
So suppose I'm going to raise same 500k right now, and I'm diluting 20%. Okay. If I would have raised a 250k right now and diluted 10%, the rest 250k if I raise in the 3rd milestone, maybe let us say after achieving the 2nd milestone, right? I would have diluted less than 10% then, because now my valuation is more. Okay. And maybe I would have diluted 5%. So rather than diluting 20%, you actually diluted 50% and maybe got even more amount than that. This is what I was trying to.
Understood. Okay, I think I understand your point. Thank you. That's all the questions I had for
Okay.
now.
I have one question. Like how you can calculate your valuation without any revenue?
As I said, valuation के परेशानी में अपन को नहीं जाना चाहिए. अपन को focus करना चाहिए. What is my ask? How much money I need to achieve my next milestone, and how much maximum equity I can dilute. You will get your valuation.
And like how I can calculate the valuation after first or second month revenue?
Again, as I said, why do you want to calculate your valuation first of all?
Actually, like I want to know like what is the worth of my like whole company right now. So in future, how I'm growing and how I can get more funds by diluting less equity. So this is for what I'm looking for.
See, Ansh, there is no formula based on revenue or based on users which directly gives you the answer for your valuation. Everyone has a different way of calculation. Every investor has a different method of calculation. ठीक है, आप अपना valuation calculate करोगे, कुछ अलग figure आएगा, मैं calculate करूंगा, कुछ और figure आएगा, someone else will do, कुछ और figure आएगा. So it doesn't make sense for us to calculate the valuation. For us as a startup, what matters is how much money do we want to raise, which is required. Let us say मेरा revenue in the next 1 year I would be able to raise let's say I would be able to generate a revenue of 1 CR and my expense is 2 CR. That means the gap is 1 CR. तो मुझे 1 CR raise करना पड़ेगा to achieve a 1 CR revenue milestone. And for raising this 1 CR, let us say I'm diluting a 10%. So 1 CR, 10%, your valuation is 10 CR. That is how you will arrive at your valuation based on your revenue numbers. I think that was your question.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Hello.
But focus on the ask rather than the valuation, because valuation is very subjective. Everyone has a different method of calculating it.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Can I? Yeah. So as you said that there are some investors who have similar companies in the portfolio. So I know that thing. So how do they take a startup which approaches them and they already have someone in their portfolio? Like sometimes it is like they can entertain us, or sometimes it is like we tell them our business secrets which they would let it out to their portfolio startup, like points or the differentiating factors. So how is it approaching the people who have someone similar to you in their portfolio?
See, there are two types of investor. Okay? One is sector focused and one is sector agnostic. So if it is a sector focused, they would definitely have some startup. Like if you are a edtech player, and if it is just a pure edtech investor, so definitely आपके आसपास के कोई ना कोई startup होंगे. But then they would invest if they see you giving value to them, like some differentiator with the existing player or not. But sector agnostic one, at times they do not like. There are certain investors who may not invest in you if it is very, very similar to the other startup.
Okay, so we can confident.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we can like share our ideas with them. There's not an issue.
यार आइडिया शेयर करने से कभी मत डरो, ठीक है?
Idea in
आप वेबसाइट
whole business plan of सब कुछ.
Sorry?
Idea in the sense the whole plan, business plan, and everything.
See, there is this thing about startup which is very important for us to understand कि मैं जिस तरीके से मेरा स्टार्टअप चला सकता हूँ उस तरीके से दूसरा कोई नहीं चला सकता है. भले वो सेम आइडिया और सेम स्टार्टअप, सेम प्रोडक्ट, सेम स्पेस, सेम स्कूल, सेम कॉलेज जिसको आप वो प्रोडक्ट बेच रहे हो, the way you are going to do it would be very the same session if someone else would have delivered would have been different, maybe better or खराब is different thing, but हर इंसान को सेम चीज समझाने का तरीका अलग होता है. Similarly, your way of executing your startup would be different. What they are interested to know is आप जिस तरीके से कर रहे हो वो सक्सेसफुल होगा या नहीं. That is what their intention to know is, and that is what they should feel confident about. Then only they'll invest. So आप execution share करने से भी I don't think there is any problem as such. हाँ, confidential numbers शायद आप ना बताओ पहले ही talk में. That is what you can do, like some numbers or some सीक्रेट्स, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल कुछ पेटेंटेबल आपके में है और आप पेटेंट नहीं लिए हो, तो आप सीक्रेट इंग्रेडिएंट्स, आपका कुछ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कुछ ड्रिंक है या कुछ आप जो बना रहे हो, आप सीक्रेट इंग्रेडिएंट्स डेफिनेटली यू कैन नॉट शेयर इन द फर्स्ट presentation itself. But the model and the revenue, how are you are going to scale it and all, I think it is very general, which anyone would come to know anyways.
Okay, fine. And just one last question. Like in the startups where where it is traction based, where there is a marketplace like a chicken and egg problem, wherein there are users and the revenue has to come after it hits a certain traffic and user engagement. So how do we show that value to the investors? Because then we don't have revenue, but we have enough traction. Like I have enough traction for my startup, but it would take a bit of time to start the premium model or to start charging them.
So what is the question?
So how do we show that value to the investors before revenue? Like how do we convince them regarding the same?
Yeah, so whatever thing you are measuring right now, if it is not the revenue, but if it is the user base, the growth rate, the active users, suppose it is an app, right? तो आपके ऐप का जो monthly active user है, daily active user है, what is the engagement? If something would be there, right? May not be the revenue, but something which is adding value and which is saying that you are growing and the customers are liking it, right? So some numbers, some metric. I mentioned about something called key growth metrics, right? So if your key growth metrics is not revenue, what is it? And how are you doing? How are you faring on those numbers? That is what you need to claim.
Okay. And how is the investors' viewpoint on such startups which are non-revenue but traction based currently?
Many startups raise, right?
Okay.
जैसे players इतने सालों बाद they started monetizing, right? Very recently. तो कितना पैसा raise किया? Acquire हो गया, बताओ पूरा startup. So there are many examples who raise funds, but then they should have like many community-based startup, many social media, social platforms and all. So they raise money, just that वो value addition दिखना चाहिए clearly, और growth metrics clear होने चाहिए और वो growing होने चाहिए.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, there is one more question from Osama Siddiqui. Osama, Siddiqui, if you can unmute yourself and ask your question over here, or shall I address from the chat box?
I have one
Okay.
question.
Yes, Ansh.
Yes. So is the age is a factor for investors to look at or to like evaluate the particular startup? Like right now I am 18 years old and I have like started one startup in agri-tech platform. And right now I am 18 years old only. I have developed my MVP also. So is the investor will look around the age as a factor for investing in the company or not?
Do you know any startup who has raised money at young age?
Like not right now, but yeah, I know one startup, generic Aadhaar.
Yeah, check out the story of Aayog founder, right?
Yeah,
Ritesh.
one is Ritesh Agrawal, and earlier than Ritesh Agrawal, generic Aadhaar is a startup which has raised funds in Tata.
There are many college students who are raising funds now. There are many young entrepreneurs who are raising funds now. तो अभी तो सब पहले था थोड़ा सा, but अभी तो नहीं है. Some investors might have it, but then if it is a solid model, if it is solid traction, something very unique which you are building and you are so much passionate about it and all, I think you can do it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Tushar. I think few of members are not able to unmute themselves and get connected with you directly. So I want to pitch one question which Osama has put over here. What is the best way to raise funds for a web-based platform in its early stage without diluting much of the equity?
Yeah, best way right now, I think I mentioned about the Startup India Seed Fund. So many incubators are eligible for it. Whichever location you are from, you can AIC-PRESTIGE team can also guide you more on that. So that has become very easy now to raise your funds. So rather than going to late stage via VCs and all, वो बहुत long process है. इसमें if you are at an early stage, you can also get incubated with the incubator and you can also raise some seed fund. So I would say that is a good way to go. You can check out like Startup India Seed Fund website for more details on this.
Right. So, okay, I will.
Hello.
Yes, go
Hello.
ahead.
Yeah, Tushar. This is Gaurav from AIC-PRESTIGE.
Yeah, Gaurav.
So first of all, thanks a lot for such a wonderful and insightful session. On behalf of all the audience, I think those who have not attended have missed something, and we will try to convey what the tips and tricks you have shown, the suggestion you have given to us, to all the incubator startup with us. Just one point I want to discuss with you, because in the initial stages you mentioned that raise faster, grow fast, something like that. So I just want your thoughts on that. Now, is it become a necessity for startup to raise fund, or they should be raising when it is a necessity?
Obviously they should be raising when it is a necessity, because when you're raising money, you're bringing a external stakeholder in your company, you're going to give your shares to someone, you're bringing a partner, you're bringing a shareholder, right? तो वो एक liability भी है, liability in terms of responsibility, I would say, because you will have to answer to them, you'll have to send them the details and all. अगर जरूरत ही नहीं थी पैसे की तो एक additional हमने क्यों लेना, right? So yeah, but then my intention of that line was more in terms of when at times I have seen startups struggling for months, 6 months, 8 months of time in raising like a large amount, okay? And they waste this attention on their growth metrics, rather than focusing on the customer pain points, rather than focusing on developing it and marketing the product, sales and all. They focus on fundraising. Investor को notes भेज रहे हैं, mails भेज रहे हैं, 1 month का रिपोर्ट भेज रहे हैं, 2 month का रिपोर्ट भेज रहे हैं, एंड वो अटेंशन डाइवर्ट हो जाता है. रेदर देन दैट, अगर हमारे नेक्स्ट 2-3 माइलस्टोन अचीव करने के लिए हमें कुछ अमाउंट मिल रहा है और हम वो माइलस्टोन अचीव करके एक बेटर अमाउंट आगे चल के रेस कर सकते हैं जो हमारे नेक्स्ट माइलस्टोन्स में काम आएगा, तो ये बेटर अप्रोच है rather than that approach. So that is what I intend.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for that, Tushar.
So
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah. जैसे बहुत अर्ली स्टेज में स्टार्टअप्स रहते हैं, आइडिया अच्छा है, ग्रोथ हो रही है, ट्रैक्शंस हैं, बट समटाइम्स वीसी है या एंजल इन्वेस्टर है या इन्वेस्टर है, तो जो एक बोल सकते हैं ना, जो डील होती है उसमें निगोशिएशन कैसे होना चाहिए, और कई बार ऐसी ऑड सिचुएशन बन जाती है कि बॉस यू आर नॉट इन द सिचुएशन टू निगोशिएट, तो उस समय कैसे हैंडल करना चाहिए कि हम अपनी इक्विटी भी बचा लें और एक विन विन सिचुएशन बन जाए? मतलब एक क्या परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन होना चाहिए, कुछ आइडिया दे सकते हैं उसके बारे में आप?
बिल्कुल शालीन, इसमें ना मोस्टली जो मेरा लर्निंग है वो है कि मैच गलत होता है, ठीक है? ज्यादा परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन कई बार होता है ना, जैसे ये मोस्टली जैसे शादी के रिश्ते टाइप की चीजें हैं, कई बार क्या होता है फटाक से शादी लग जाते हैं और कई बार लगता है सालों लग जाते हैं और सही मैच नहीं मिल पाता, तो प्रॉब्लम वो मैच होने का ज्यादा रहता है, जहां पे हम बस कैसे करके एडजस्ट करके वो सेट करना है, तो देख लेना है कि भाई ये सही मैच हो भी रहा है कि नहीं, तो बहुत ज्यादा हमको परम्यूटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन करने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़नी चाहिए अगर वो सही मैच है तो, ठीक है? और मोस्ट ऑफ द अर्ली स्टेज इन्वेस्टमेंट में हमें ये क्लैरिटी नहीं होती है कि मेरा राइट फिट इन्वेस्टर कौन है. देखो हजारों इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, लेकिन आपका राइट फिट शायद 100 भी नहीं होंगे, और हम वो 1000 में से वो 100 भी क्या 50 भी नहीं होंगे, तो वो सही मैच करना हमारा गलत मेथड हो जाता है, या सही तरीके से हमने नहीं किया होता है, या सही लोग हमें गाइड नहीं कर पाते हैं, जिसके कारण हम किसी और सबसेट ऑफ इन्वेस्टर के साथ मैच करने में या तो इक्विटी ज्यादा डाइल्यूट कर लेते हैं या फिर माइलस्टोन गलत क्लेम कर लेते हैं. सो ये वाला प्रॉब्लम ज्यादा होता है रेदर देन दिस, बट अदरवाइज नेगोशिएशन डेफिनेटली होता है, बट बहुत ज्यादा नेगोशिएशन का स्कोप नहीं रहता है. 10% का बोल लिए तो आपने 12-13% कर लिया, या इस तरीके का, या कुछ 2-3 टर्म्स ऐसे होते हैं, क्योंकि जब आप इक्विटी इन्वेस्टमेंट रेस करते हैं, सो देयर आर सो मेनी टर्म्स इन्वॉल्व. ड्रैग अलोंग है, टैग अलोंग है, डाइल्यूशन क्लॉज है, एंटी डाइल्यूशन क्लॉज है, नेक्स्ट राउंड ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए डिस्काउंटिंग का क्लॉज है, एग्जिट के क्लॉजेस हैं, सो मेनी क्लॉजेस आर देयर. हाँ, तो कुछ क्लॉजेस हर इन्वेस्टर के कुछ डिफाइंड, मोस्टली इन्वेस्टर्स के डिफाइंड टर्म शीट्स होती हैं कि भाई हम इन टर्म्स में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, जो कई बार उनकी वेबसाइट्स पे ऑलरेडी अवेलेबल होती हैं, या आप उनके पोर्टफोलियो स्टार्टअप से किसी रेफरेंस के थ्रू जान सकते हो कि भाई ये इन्वेस्टर व्हाट टर्म्स दे इन्वेस्ट इन यूजुअली, और वो देख लो कि आपको मैच आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है वो टर्म्स.
एक इसमें इससे रिलेटेड ये क्वेश्चन था कि जैसे हम इक्विटी ले रहे हैं और इक्विटी दे रहे हैं और वो हमारी एक किसी को जो स्टेक दिया वो हमारी लायबिलिटी नहीं बन जाए कभी, या बर्डन सम नहीं बन जाए कि वो इन्वेस्टर और ज्यादा एग्रेसिव हो रहा है कि मुझे तो ये रिजल्ट्स नहीं मिल रहे हैं, आपने ये माइलस्टोन सेट करा था कि ये 10 महीने में इतना होना चाहिए, 12 महीने में इतना होना चाहिए सपोज। तो एक जनरल ओवरव्यू के लिए कितने कौन कौन से टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस को माइंड में रखना चाहिए एक जनरल ओवरव्यू में कि ये चीजें देख के चलना चाहिए, एक बताइए उसके बारे में कुछ बताइए।
I think सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है इक्विटी, जो मैंने ऑलरेडी बताया कि बहुत ज्यादा इक्विटी नहीं डाइल्यूट कर लेनी है, ठीक है। नहीं तो फर्दर राउंड्स में आपको मतलब रेज ही नहीं कर पाएंगे आप। अगर आप स्टार्टअप मॉडल में जा रहे हैं तो आपको अगले राउंड में अगर रेज करना है, ठीक है, सो दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्लॉज। और ऐसा कोई क्लॉज जो आपको नेक्स्ट राउंड ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट उठाने में डिफिकल्टी क्रिएट करे, ठीक है। और ये सारी चीजें जो मैंने एक स्लाइड बताई थी जिसमें मैंने लिखा था right set of investors. So if it is a good right set fitting that right set of investor criteria, then usually वो terms founder favorable होंगे और इन्वेस्टर भी आपको अर्ली स्टेज पे बहुत ज्यादा परेशान नहीं करेंगे, क्योंकि वो समझते हैं कि अर्ली स्टेज पे मॉडल भी कई बार चेंज होते हैं, ट्रैक्शन के नंबर्स ऊपर नीचे होते हैं। बट अगर कोई ऐसा ट्रेडिशनल इन्वेस्टर है जो नया नया स्टार्टअप में इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है, तो उनको यूजुअली दे टेक, लाइक आई हैव सीन मेनी बिजनेस पीपल हु आर लाइक कितना मुझे रिटर्न मिलेगा, 6 महीने में कितना पैसा मिलेगा। सो उनको अंडरस्टैंडिंग शायद ना हो उस चीज की और वो फिर सही फिट ना हो। तो वो चीज आपको समझनी है कि अपार्ट फ्रॉम मनी व्हाट एडिशनल थिंग इज देयर इन द इन्वेस्टिंग क्राइटेरिया।
ओके, थैंक यू।
Okay, thank you, Tushar.
We have
Thank
already
you.
overshot the time.
Sorry.
I'm saying we have already overshot the time. If there are no further questions,
Well, yeah, I'm gonna actually ask everyone over here, but so anyone has any other doubts or any questions over here to discuss?
Sorry, but just a last question. I wanted to know how is the investor's viewpoint on a single founder and the equity distribution between the founders, because I am a single founder and I hold like more than 50% of the equity. So how is the investor's viewpoint on it?
I didn't understand. If you are a single founder, why are you holding 50%? You should hold 100%, right?
Yeah, in the sense I have promised it to some of the developers and so, and it is in the agreement process.
Yeah, so you
But
cannot
they are not the founders
50%
also.
of the equity to employees, right? Why?
No, I am not. I'm just telling that I have the majority of it. Just the 10% pool is for like the employees which I am having. I have given it to them. I just did not tell you the exact number, but I have the majority of it, and I am a single founder. So how is the investor's viewpoint on it and the equity distribution?
See, 10% ESOP pool, if you're talking about, then it is fine, right?
Yeah.
And there are many single founders as well who have raised funds. The more important question here is whether I, as a single founder, have the required skill sets to scale this company. So if I am a single founder and I am running a tech venture and मुझे खुद को टेक नहीं आता है, ठीक है, तो फिर रिस्की है for an investor. But if I am a single founder running a tech venture and you know, I have like whatever X number of experience in running technology, I have built a similar product in the past, then शायद confidence आ जाएगा investor को. So आपकी skill set as a founder, because one of the slides I talked about the team as well, right? So majority of the decision is on team. Who is the founder, who are the founding team members. So if you are a single founder, what kind of skill sets you have relevant to scaling this particular startup? That is an important question which they would want to know about you before investing.
Okay. But it is not a negative factor or so, right? To be a single founder or to hold majority equity.
Negative founder if you do not have relevant skill sets. If you have relevant skill set, then not negative.
Okay, fine.
Suppose you are doing an agri-tech startup, right? And you are a founder, you don't know anything about agri, you don't have any family background about agri, you don't have any agri, right? So negative हो गया ना?
Right. No, I thought मतलब वो ऐसा filtering वगैरह में use नहीं करते ना कि single founder है तो like filtering out the startups with single founders or ऐसा कुछ criteria?
Some investors may do it. So as I said, whenever you pitch to any investor, you check out their profile, check out their website, the kind of startups which they have invested in their portfolio. You will see कि भाई इन्होंने 50 startup में invest किया है और 50 में से 10 हैं जो single founder वाले हैं. That means कोई tension नहीं है. But if you see in the thesis itself, इन्वेस्टमेंट हर इन्वेस्टर की वेबसाइट पे आपको उनकी ये दिख जाती है कि वो कितना साइज इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, किस तरीके की टीम में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, ऑल दैट. सो यू विल गेट टू नो.
Okay, fine.
One more question from my end. Like, how you can find a better co-founder?
Yeah, big problem for early stage founders, but luckily many of the platforms are doing it, conducting co-founder search events. You should attend a lot of networking events. कई लोग तो LinkedIn पे मैंने जॉब पोस्ट देखे हैं कि co-founder टेक co-founder सर्च करने के जॉब निकालते हैं लोग, इक्विटी मिलेगी ये वो. So figure out your own innovative ways. There are many platforms which have come up. Many investors are doing matchmaking, co-founder dating sessions. बहुत सारे incubators ऐसे events कराते हैं. So you should search for more such events, network, participate. शायद देखो ऐसे ही cohort में हो सकता है कि 2 और लोग थे. So there was one event offline which I attended. I was a speaker in one of the events wherein 2 fintech के startup बैठे हुए थे और एक ने ये same question पूछा और मैंने पूछ लो यहीं इसी ग्रुप में कोई होगा, तो उसने सामने वाले ने हाथ उठाया, सर I want to discuss and meet him. So then after the event they actually interacted. तो कई बार हमारे आसपास ही ऐसे लोग होते हैं, हम थोड़ा आउटस्पोकन नहीं होते हैं इस बात को लेके और मैच नहीं हो पाता है. So you know, every event when you attend, next time you just drop a message in the chat, is there anyone who is looking to join a co-founder as a co-founder, this is my startup, this is my details. Maybe you'll get a match soon then.
And sir, is there any criteria for co-founder? Like I have heard कि minimum 10% तो चाहिए, ऐसा कुछ rule है या ऐसा कुछ नहीं है?
Rule कुछ भी नहीं है. You should think about what is the value which they are bringing on table. So अगर कोई co-founder आपको join कर रहा है, I don't remember the website, but there are certain websites. If you will search co-founder equity distribution on Google, there are certain websites जहाँ पे वो 30-40 questions आपसे पूछते हैं, और आप co-founder का ऐसे नाम डाल सकते हो, like for example भूषण, तुषार, शालीन and all, and then you put up कौन सा काम कौन करने वाला है, like who would be managing finance, check, who would be developing tech, check, who will be doing marketing, check. ऐसे अलग अलग चेक बॉक्स हैं. Based on that, at the end वो आपको इक्विटी ब्रेकअप का एक रफ आइडिया दे देते हैं. तो शायद आप ऐसे किसी प्लेटफॉर्म को रेफर कर सकते हो to decide how much equity you should give to that particular person. Again, when you are bringing a co-founder on board, you should have something called as, you can search for this, called equity vesting. तो एकदम से आप किसी नए आदमी को पूरा इक्विटी उठा के दे दिए, 6 महीने में वो चला गया तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी. सो यू शुड हैव अ इक्विटी वेस्टिंग पीरियड कि इतने माइलस्टोन अचीव करने पे इतनी इक्विटी मिलेगी, दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग. सो सर्च अबाउट दिस. you should do equity vesting as well, not diluting पूरा 50% दे दिया पहले ही स्टार्ट में. So then also you can get into trouble.
Definitely. So any other questions are there?
Bakshi, I think I have a question from you, not
Yes.
from that, separately for Headstart portal. Okay. In the last session, we discussed that if we create our business model and stuff, someone will see that. So how will you get to know if someone is seeing that? You can answer separately as well if you want, not on this portal.
Okay.
Or
So
maybe message on the group.
Yeah, I'll give a brief message on our WhatsApp group, and if you want to find it a bit helpful, then you can call me up directly on WhatsApp, right? We'll make you understand on that.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm taking this as a conclusion of this session, and yes, who participants has not get a chance to make their questions discussed over here, they can get connected with Tushar via his LinkedIn profile. He has put it in a chat box in this session. We'll share his profile in WhatsApp group as well. So first of all, thank you so much, Tushar, for such an insightful session and enlightening us with so important and feasible factors about how to fundraise at early stage of our venture. Like what process should be followed, what are bewailing points are there, what to focus, what to not, how should our priorities can be showcased for the plan, and many more things like identifying liabilities, assets, and how to utilize funds in that, right? So thank you so much for all of this. Once again, you have made this session so interactive with our participants by solving their Q&A and everything. So I would like to thank you, AIC Prestige team, as well for hosting this and bringing up Tushar with us. So everyone, thank you so much for having this wonderful session.
Thank you so much for the patient listening. I hope it was some worth of your time which you spent on the call, and happy to take up any questions on, I mean, you can connect on LinkedIn and we can chat. Thank you.
Yes,
Sure.
definitely.
Thank you, Tushar. And once
Thank
again,
you so
thanks
much,
for
Tushar.
Bhagdathi as well.